Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Digital Nomad World weekly series. I'm Becky, and once again, I will be your host. And today, we're going to be talking about how to create income streams from your savings with my guest, Ruben Hornberger. Ruben, welcome to the show.
Hi, nice to be here. Thanks for the invitation.
We are very excited to have you here because I think everyone would love to learn how to create more savings and income from their savings. So I'm excited to hear how you got into this, Ruben. Can you first share with us your background and how you got started with this?
My main background is I'm a sports scientist. So I worked in health a lot. I worked as a teacher. I worked as a lecturer at the university level. And I also worked in professional sports setting for quite a while. So this has been my very first passion. After that, I started my own company, which was first focused on health coaching, integrated health coaching. And through my journey, through like being an entrepreneur, I always wanted to have the freedom that we always talk about, have the choices and be able to do what I want to do and share my talents. And this was only possible with a clear strategy in my financial life as well.
I think this is so important because we've had a lot of conversations with digital nomads and we ask them how they earn money, but we never talk about that next really important part, which is how are you saving? How are you planning to keep your life, going in this with what you are doing for a living? Maybe people don't want to work their whole lives, and if they start saving, there might be a way to retire early or work less. So is that what you found as you started going along with as you said you used to work in something very different, but are you still doing some of that, or are you able to, work a bit less and focus more on the finance side?
Yeah, so very good question. As I started building my business and getting an entrepreneur, basically, I asked me like those important questions, and I started to reverse engineer my life. So, what do I really want to have in my life, and how can I best share my talents? And for me, I'm always really good in things when I don't have to be there, at a certain amount of time or like on a fixed schedule. Like I have my own like freedom and so I was like, okay, how can I build this? How can I build this? So while I was building my first business, which was still related to health, I put a lot of time and energy into really getting a setup for myself that works for the financial part of my life. Because I knew at some point, oh, wow, this is going to be a topic that's going to be super important to sustain this lifestyle and to also be like basically an inspiration to people that it's possible to share your talents and gifts. And this is not possible if we like have to work 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week, and the rest of our energy that comes up a few hours a day or something, we have to put into our like passion. So I wanted to have more time and more energy towards that from the very beginning.
Yeah, I'm so glad you started focusing on that early. I think that's important too. It's easy to get carried away with building a business and just putting in those hours, right? So I'm really curious, like when did you start studying the financial side of it and what did you discover?
Yeah. So I started investing 9 years ago, back in 2015, and basically with the first actual good money that I earned. And yeah, I knew about the importance to not only earn money or make money, but also there's like two other sides, right? That most of us, and me including in the beginning, didn't really know they even exist. It's basically not only making or earning money, it's also keeping money, and it's also multiplying money. And only if we work on those two sides as well, like we actually can create some abundance, we actually can create more options and more freedom in our life.
Yeah, that's so important. And I'm wondering because inflation I think is hitting everybody worldwide. All the prices are going up everywhere. So what are some tips that you have to help us save more in this really difficult economy?
Yeah, it's true. So it's a really difficult situation that we have worldwide. And I lived in different places. I was out of Europe for quite some years. Now I'm back in Europe and Portugal, and I see that my living costs have been rising as well, of course. And so that's a challenge. At the same time, like these times are super important for us because we see like not everything is just working perfectly. The economy is always going up. These times really like they force us to focus on that. They force us to like really keep track of our expenses. And this is what I do as well. Like I have my sheet, like that's what I have for the clients I work with, just basic sheets of like, okay, income and expenses, and then also like, okay, what's actually your net worth? Like how much money do you have and where it is stored? This is always the first step to do like some kind of house cleaning, basically. Okay, what's there? What is going out every single month? What is coming in every single month? And this is now the best time for us because many of us need to do it. There's no question about it anymore because we see each month if we don't do it, there's just so much money going out there. It's more and more and more. So and it's not being we're not able to always just catch up by making more money. We need to keep the money and we need to find ways so that our money doesn't lose that the purchasing power, which is really important.
Yeah. So first you're saying is like take an audit basically of how you're already spending and track it. Tracking sounds really important.
Exactly. There's different ways to tackle it. So of course the saving part is one area that it's just really I mean easy for people and everybody understands it, saving. At the same time, like from my point of view, it's not the only thing. So it's important that we also want to create options. We also want to like live a good life. If we just like save on everything, we don't like, treat us to a good dinner, to like whatever, like a wellness day or anything that we want to do, or like invite our partner. So this is really important also for abundance. So like we want to be in the position that we say like, okay, this is what it is. I'm saving money at the same time, like I'm worth to do this for me. I'm worth to like give a present to this person and to keep doing that. So this is the balance. I don't believe in the fire movement too much. It depends on your situation, of course. For myself, I found that living in frugalism, basically, which is what like the extreme version of that movement would include, like just to like save on everything, basically, for many years or decades. This always implies a certain amount of like scarcity in your life. At least for me, I tried it out. I tried it out for some time, and I was like, I don't feel well. Like I'm saving on everything. I don't do anything. Like, oh, this is another 20 years I should do this. And then what happens if my health is going down? What happens if I, go to the hospital? Like, what about all like 10, 20 years of saving if your health is going down? Or so, yeah, for me, it's one big part. Saving is a big part. At the same time, it shouldn't be the only one. We should also be living out of abundance and treat us to things that we really want to do.
I can definitely attest to the idea of like saving too much and thinking about being frugal can really lead to, not taking chances and other things like that scarcity mindset you said, not starting a new business or spending money on your business. So, yeah, a balance is definitely required. But I am curious, like, how did you start saving money yourself? For example, I think sometimes people tell you, okay, stop going to Starbucks, stop spending money on the fancy coffees. It's one of the first things you can do. What did you do yourself if you weren't adding more money from the business side necessarily? How did you yourself save?
Yeah, yeah. So I use the income expense sheet that I have. It's a really simple sheet. It's not like an app or anything that I use for myself because I want to keep things simple. And I just see like I add every single thing there. So I add like every expense, every little membership that we have, every little like Spotify account, like whatever Amazon thing that you order, and also business tools that I have that are necessary. They're all on there. So I know the monthly cost and I know the yearly cost. And yeah, and this is something to remind me, okay, this is what I really need to of course to make in my business and to make in like active income, at least that, and of course some more. There's other things that I'm spending money on. But that's really the first step. And yeah, and as I said, for me, I really focus more myself. I focus more on like the multiplying money, so the savings that I already have. This was the basic idea that I started with. Not being a millionaire, not being like from a rich family or anything, but yeah, I had some good jobs that I made money with. I was successful with what I did before, and I had the idea quite early to, okay, if I want to sustain that life, like this money, whatever it is, this shouldn't be sitting and losing so much value over time. So it's really important to care for that first. While I build a business, of course, I want to make more money and earn more money. But while I'm doing that, why can that money that I already saved not work for me and make things a bit easier, Make things a bit easier. So like some income is already coming and it makes it easier to, you're not forced to have like whatever, 10 more clients, 20 more clients, like you can work with maybe a few little more clients and you can focus on your service and you have a bit more time, like to have peace of mind to build a business. And this is what I came up with, like basically looking into it in a long-term horizon, being in it for the long term.
I'm really curious, what did you find were some great ways to make your money make money?
Yeah. So I came up, and this of course developed over the years. I said I started investing 9 years ago, and I came up now what I do and what I also share with people, because I only share what I do myself and what worked for myself, which is a four-pillar strategy, and it's stocks is one pillar, precious metals is one pillar, um, crypto is one pillar, and P2P loans, peer-to-peer lending, is one pillar. And over time, I built these pillars. Of course, this takes time, like it took me years to build all of this, to get like the basic knowledge, the fundamentals, like to get familiar with how it works, the risks, my investment type, all these things. And yeah, so I found myself building up more and more a balanced strategy that, some things are just really basic, really like, broad broad market ETFs, for example, or precious metals, like really secure things that, stabilize themselves. And then there's also like a bit of a more risk and higher return part, which then is balanced out with the other things that make also the big part of my portfolio a more secure part. But I also have this like higher income potential, um, growth assets, so to say.
Yeah, no, and you mentioned like four different pillars, four different types of assets. I know when you get into finance, diversification is really important. Of those four things you mentioned, what do you think is where's the first place people should go with their money when they're just starting out?
Yeah, it's of course a good question, and this is why I work one-on-one with people, because I know that's not the same for everybody. I can tell you my journey, how I started, and for me, the very first thing that I got into, that I understood, was precious metals, yeah, and buying gold. And that was actually a good idea 9 years ago to buy that. We see that the gold price raised a lot in that time. Yeah. The first gold ounce that I bought was around 1,000 US dollars. And I think we're now at 2,600, 2,700 over a period of 9 years. And we're talking about an asset which is actually a secure asset that doesn't bring you much income, that doesn't give you any dividends. And even this asset was raising quite a lot, because we see, of course, all these ugly things happening in the economy and worldwide, and wars, and so these things are in favor for gold, or for like stable havens, stable assets like gold and silver, for example, even more gold than silver. So yeah, this could be there's different ways to invest into gold, for example. This could be a good starting point. And still, I mean, the price is much higher now than it used to be when I first invested, but I would there's still a long way to go with physical assets, with tangible assets that have some kind of intrinsic value. And yeah, gold, I think, is one of them for sure.
So is one of your services like you would help people start into that world? Because I will be honest with me as an example, I've never purchased a precious metal, so I would not know where to start. I would think gold first, but do you help your clients like, okay, this is where you should buy it. This is how much based on your, assets I would recommend, things like that.
Yeah, this is exactly what I do with the service I created. And the program is called Financial Self-Leadership. And it's a one-on-one program. And I help people over the course of 6 months, which is, of course, a big starting point, to get to a point where I basically use 3, 4, 5 years myself to get that knowledge and to get to the point, which is compromised into 6 months. To really start from, self-knowledge, which is, I'm a coach. I'm like, I work with people for many, many years. So to really have that self-confidence and self-knowledge about where am I actually now? What's my situation and where do I want to go? And how much time do I want to spend with, like, building a portfolio, and also on a weekly, on a monthly basis, like being honest with yourself, like how much do you want to put in yourself and how much do you want to like basically put it on autopilot. And yeah, and from there we go for like risk profile, investment type, and then I help them really step by step to build these asset classes, which includes like includes of course money mindset, and it includes like opening up brokerage accounts, and it includes like first investment into precious metal, first time buying gold. It includes first time putting some money into crypto. How does it actually work? How do I do it in practice? The key also like platforms, KYC, how does it work? I've done it like many, many times. And I see the hurdles. I've seen the hurdles for people. It's not easy to start with. This is why so many don't start at all. They always prolong it, or they always put it into a later time. And yeah, so this is a really personalized service from where you are now to where we can bring you in 6 months, which is you leave the program with a fixed strategy. So you have like a one page which shows you like, okay, this is what I want to reach. This is like the exact strategy of when I buy assets, when I sell assets, which platforms I use, which diversification, and also you walk out with income streams that work for you already. So that's the promise. Yeah, not only one. Usually we have 2 or 3 different income streams that are not related to each other. Could be stocks, could be crypto, could be P2P, for example. That a long time after we work together, they keep working and bringing money, cash flow into your account.
Yeah, that's really powerful. Like I think, some people don't know, for example, that some stocks will pay you a monthly dividend. So if they're paying you that, that's a monthly income stream that you can have, and you can sell those dividends depending on the account that they're in, the type of account. You could sell those dividends at the end of every month if you wanted to.
Exactly. Exactly. So this is the strategy, and it's my strategy is an income strategy. So there's of course compounding strategies, people that just save for their retirement, which is like, okay, I put money in there, I don't look at it, I just put it there 40, 50 years, and hopefully I get something out after that. My strategy is really like, okay, to build income streams, which is an income focused investment, which is in stocks, as you said already, a dividend focused strategy. And in crypto, it can be also like an income focused strategies, or using strategies like lending, liquidity mining, staking that give you income. Also, there's ways to actually make income with precious metals. Few people know about. So yeah, these are the steps that you can take to actually get cash flow that supports your business. So I mostly work with entrepreneurs, business owners that supports your business already. So you either have more peace of mind while you're building your own business, or you take some money out and you live from it already. Yeah. So that of course, if you take money out, it will prolong your journey into financial freedom. So of course, if you can keep it there and just keep it compounding, would be better. But also the idea is to have something out of it. Like have some kind of, depends on living situation, have some kind of cash flow that just supports also your living costs.
Yeah, it's really important. I know we all need more income if we can every month, and if we can spend less time getting that income, making your money work for you, it's going to be better for us and to help our businesses, right? One thing I want to ask you, I think it's really important. I actually used to work in the tax industry for 4 years. It's something people just don't want to think about. It's a big part of finance. Are you always looking when you're investing in the strategies that you have? Are you always thinking about how to reduce the taxable income for the year? If so, how do you do that? What do you recommend for people
Mhm.
to make sure they're keeping the taxes in mind as well?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I'm not a tax advisor, obviously. So I would always recommend to get to a tax advisor depending on the country you're from, and that's an important one. To be honest, I took quite some time in the beginning to like really look into, okay, what is my future setup? How do I want it to look like, especially with our lifestyle, like traveling to different countries, living in different places, not necessarily spending a lot of time in one place. And I would definitely recommend to look into that. Also, if you don't have like a digital nomad lifestyle or anything, you move every single week, every single month somewhere else. Just like be like know what's possible, not just rely on your home country, which is like, okay, I'm from the UK, I'm from Germany, I'm from the US, so this is like how it works. There's also ways to like, optimize that if you're not only staying in the US, if you have clients from other countries. So there's ways, and I would really suggest and yeah, people to look into it and have a specialist in the beginning, and yeah, and then have a good setup that works for you. So then you can focus on other things. So now I don't want to focus on taxes all the time. So I want to focus on it once. Like this is a setup I want to do. This works for me. That was for me 5 years ago. And now it works. And now I can really focus my time and energy on other things.
Do you have
And being
someone?
tax efficient, of course.
Oh, yes,
So
being
it
tax efficient.
being tax efficient, so all the dividends and like, yeah, it's quite a tax efficient setup. That's of course helps you for getting more net income from your cash flow. and also yeah shortens your time. Like if your journey to financial freedom is like this, if taxes is like this, and really like saving is like this, saving and then you also like multiplying is like this. So you can really shorten with these kind of factors, um, taxes, just like knowing how to keep money, saving, and also knowing how to multiply your money. So this is ways that people usually don't look at it. Just look at the one pillar, which is making money or focusing on making more money, but focusing on, okay, tax efficiency, keeping money, saving money, and then also how do I multiply it, what I already have. That gives you a really big support and chance to get earlier where you want to be in life.
Yes. Yeah. I think a lot of people don't know, for example, if you hold something just over a year, in terms of like a stock, if you buy a stock and then sell it just over a year later, you will pay, in many cases, a lower tax rate than if you just sell it every month. So that is something to keep in mind. It's not true for every country. I'm from the US, so
Yeah.
I have to know these things because, as many people know, Americans have to file their taxes every year, no matter where they are. But yeah, just knowing these simple things may help you save a lot of money and keep having that money make money for you.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Okay. So one thing we haven't mentioned is real estate. And I know a lot of people, digital nomads, are often thinking like, do I buy a place? Do I get a base? Do you yourself, like, I know you haven't mentioned it yet, but do you think real estate is one of the assets we should be thinking about to make money and have an income stream? Because a lot of people are thinking I can get this rental income.
Yeah, yeah. So real estate is a big pillar, and it works for many people, and it might work for me in the future as well. I haven't chosen it as a priority at the beginning, or also still not chosen it because I mean mainly of course like if you have a strategy, if you have a system that gives you, let's say, 15-20% plus return without needing to care for like which tenants am I getting into my apartment, repairs, like where do I get the handymans from? Where do I get like the new, something to replace, and dealing with problems and going there physically. If you can get that, um, there's not much, how can I say, like incentive to invest into real estate. And especially from my lifestyle as well, I think it's similar to you. You travel to different countries, so not necessarily you want to manage physical properties. And then, yeah, it's only what many people also don't see yet is a property that you live in is not an asset, it's a liability. So if you live in it yourself, you're just paying money. It just, takes money out of your pocket, so to say. And only if you own a place and you rent it out, then it potentially gives you some money. But at the same time, you have quite some work with it. I know it. I know some people that have properties, and I was like, okay, I don't want to deal with it yet. Yeah, because
Yeah.
just that depends. But if you have no other strategies, if this is something you want to do and if you like to do it, and it gives you some like 5, 6, 7%, it depends on the country, sometimes a bit more, sometimes a bit less. But those are the numbers that I saw. If you actually like deduct all the costs that you have with repairs and everything, then yeah, it's an option. I believe for me and for most people, if you want to have less time, like a system that works for you and you're like location independent, you don't want to be physically there and doing repairs and talking with people to do things, then yeah, have some other assets as well.
I do own a property, and I can tell you everything you said is right. Like, you really should at the beginning go through, get a spreadsheet, think about the time you're going to be spending, versus what you're going to be taking home. And like you've already mentioned, there's a lot of other ways to make money and have it be much more passive. It's just, I know there, real estate can be a very personal thing for people, and some people want that base where they can keep their things, and but like you said, it is a liability at that point. You are only going to be making money if you rent it out, full time or something like that.
Yeah.
So like I would say, are you, with these four different things you mentioned, are you, depending on someone's portfolio, are you recommending like a kind of even distribution of their investments across those four categories? Or are you feeling like one of those is more important at this time to invest in?
Yeah, so that's a really individualized question again. So there's not something like, okay, you have four pillars and you have the pie chart and everything is like 25% basically. I wouldn't recommend that. Might work for some people, but mo most likely not for most of the people. And yeah, so it really depends on how much, what's your like risk profile? You know, how much risk are you wanting to take? How much do you understand risk? Like, of course, like you at some point you got to understand that with every kind of return that you get out of your money, there's some risk involved. Yeah, and you shouldn't opt for the projects that tell you, okay, there's no risk but high returns. Those things don't exist. Yeah, there's always, if there's some return, there's always a risk involved. And same thing with a bank account. We have some risks to just leave money on the bank account or to leave it in a life insurance or something. There's also some risks. But it's just very little percentage that we get out of it. Actually lose money having it most of the time. And yeah, so very personalized. I always recommend to have a secure, stable base, which in my case is, for example, the precious metals part and also the broad market ETF stock market, which is like the stable base, which should be a higher percentage. I cannot say like what it is, but it depends on the strategy. A higher percentage, and then things like crypto, things like P2P, they can be as as far as you understand it, as far as you like are willing to take some risk, as far as you can bear like some lows, and some volatility, then of course you have much higher return as well. So volatility is always negative for people when it goes down, and never negative when it goes up. So nobody complains when it goes up, like Bitcoin raises like whatever, 100%, 200%. Nobody's complaining about that, but yeah, everybody's talking about dipping 20%, 30% that we've seen the last few months and years in Bitcoin. But we've also seen like a crazy return. So yeah. But it's just one
Right.
pillar. So I'm not just putting it into everything into crypto or anything. I just understand it, what it's there, like cutting through the noise, basically, understand the fundamentals, and then include it according to what suits you.
Yes. Yeah. This brings me to a question I wanted to ask you. What do you think is the most misunderstood aspect of finance? Because for me, I think it's that you have to, oh, I can't put any money in when the market is up. I need to wait until it's like there's been a big dip. And so I'm just not going to take any action and I will wait for that. How about you? What do you think for you is the most misunderstood aspect?
Yeah, it's a good one. So there's a lot of misunderstood aspects, I think, in finance. Probably number one, from also working with my clients, and I also show this usually in the beginning, in the very first session or the very first call that we have, or at some point that they need this information. It's really like the point is opportunity costs. Like to really understand what does it cost you if you, I don't know if you're 20, 25, 30, 35, but you have still a long way to go. Like if we stay healthy, we might get to 80, 90 years, maybe even longer. So how much does it cost you to, like, let's say you can only, most people make on a bank account, like, what is it, 3, 4% or something at the moment. It's going down now. So maybe they have some ETFs that give them 6, 7%, annualized over like decades from the past. We don't know how it performs in the future. But if you can make 10%, 15%, or even 20%, which is not so hard. I mean, I'm doing it, yeah, after some years of studying and practicing, not only studying, but really practicing, trying things, like, of course, losing some money, making money. If you really see like what is the opportunity cost on the scale, like not investing for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, how much that costs you, and that's going to go into millions very easily. After 30, 40 years, you will see like, okay, I'm losing a million here. I'm losing 1.5 million if I don't invest my money. And it can be little money that is not invested or just invested with like 3%. And yeah, so it's a big number. And it's not even a plus anymore. It's just a necessity to invest your money, especially in the economy that we live in. If you don't invest your money, you're losing. You're a consumer and you're losing. It's just how it is. And it's been shown quite radically the last few years.
Yeah, the system is geared towards investment for us to put our money in and hopefully we get returns. And so, yeah, like I was saying, people wait, they think there's, they wait for a dip, so they take no action. You're saying it's really important to take action. So both sides are going to lead you towards, I think, hopefully a better financial future.
Yeah, it's crucial. And it always starts with like the realization, like how important this is. Like at some point, there's no way to um, not look into your finances. So for many years when we were young, of course, I also did it. In my 20s, I didn't look as much or, but then when I came to like end of my 20s, beginning of my 30s, I was like coming to a point like, okay, I love these things that I do, but how sustainable is that? Like, how does it work? How am I really will I be really be able to live the life I want with the strategies that I have now? And I was clearly like, the answer was no. So I have to like get into some things, like, and usually the things that we don't like to do. It's many times in life, not only in finances, but if we do the things we don't like to do, and if we have the perspective, okay, this one will shift our like, whole 10, 20, 30 years ahead. If we look into it now and we spend like just 6 months, 1 year or something to like focusing on that, doesn't need you doesn't you don't need to be the expert in finances, but just putting a focus on it and getting to it, understand it, have somebody helping you with it. If you can do it yourself, do it yourself. If not, look for somebody that can help you, and this will be a total game changer because this you will benefit from that knowledge the rest of your life.
Think it's like learning how to eat well, right? You spend some time, you start learning what is good for your body. Same thing with finance. Learn what's going to be good for you and put it into action. It's going to, pay off in so many ways along the rest of your life.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, Ruben, thank you so much for joining us today and enlightening us with some of these things, like especially reminding us we need to be in the market. We need to start thinking about our investments and how we can make more money from our money that is in our savings. So, is there anything else you would like to share with us before you go, including where we can follow you?
Mhm. So you're more than welcome to share my Instagram account. You're also welcome to share an email. So if there's any like personal thing to reach out. As I said, I work very much in a one-on-one basis. I build like trust with my clients over years and years, and this is what I want to do and what I want to keep on doing. Yeah, and get started. This is really like a recommendation. Get started. Like whatever it is, it doesn't need to be big, but look into those things, look into like what's holding you back, what's like maybe in your family history, what kind of, belief systems were there. And it's hard to do by yourself. So have somebody that already walked the path. It can be a friend, it can be a mentor. Have somebody at your side that, it's also doing the same thing. And that will help you get you started.
Yeah, I've just to put a little word in for the women as well. Women, it's a different thing. We're often, not thinking about this or not taught so much about our finances. So this is for everybody. We all need to be doing this.
Yeah, for sure. Especially women, if you don't have that kind of background or maybe another belief system that it's not so important or somebody else taking care of it or whatever it is. Or when it's complicated, we all men have that as well. I was also my belief system just is too complicated for me. It's too, I don't know where to start. Like all these things I had myself, just like belief systems, we have beliefs and we can work through them. And it just, yeah, it's a matter of
Yeah.
starting and a matter of like having little successes in the beginning, which you will have when you start and you see the first fruit coming out of your investment. Just like a few dollars, a few euros coming into your account is like a huge success already.
Yes, that's so important. Thank you, Ruben, for bringing us this really important advice today. It was a pleasure speaking with you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Bye.
Bye bye.